Condo maintenance. The rules are about to change. Stay tuned, I'll tell you more. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Reddick. Welcome to another edition of Out and Around with Mike 2022 style. I am your host today, but our true expert is my guest, Shannon Hankin. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi.
Nice to have you here.
Good to see you.
And Shannon is one of the two principals of Hankin and Hankin. Michael's been on many of these videos. This time, Shannon's graciously agreed to come out and talk a little bit about this. Shannon, I'm getting a lot of questions all the time now. The rules are changing in terms of what condos are going to be judged against with standards. This all has to do with the tragedy that happened down in Miami a year or two ago. So Shannon, being a local attorney, I asked her to share some thoughts on what's happening and what we're looking at. So what are you finding right now? What are the rules as we move forward?
Yeah, so it's good to know just the general basics of what the legislature decided to do to try to keep tabs, essentially, on the safety of condos. So they implemented some new rules that are going to be coming into effect pretty soon, where we're going to have to do both milestone inspections as well as what they're deeming structural integrity reserve studies. And those are going to be...
Sounds official.
Very official. Going to have lots of experts involved to help, keep people safe, though.
See, that's the whole goal. All these rules and regulations coming at us is to keep, so that doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
Let's take a 30-second back in history. We had back in the past here in Sarasota, where the Dolphin Tower Condo Association, they found some problems through some, testing up front and stuff with structure. They were able to fix that, and there was actually nobody hurt and no casualties, obviously, for that. So that was a good news story. The story in Miami was a bad news story, unfortunately. But what are some of the things we're going to have to look for and test for as we go forward?
Sure. So you're going to be looking at the same basic things during both the milestone as well as the structural integrity. They're just going to be, one's going to be probably a little more comprehensive. And you're going to be looking at the structural components, as it sounds like. The foundation, any, beams that are holding things up, floors, a variety of just structural components. It can be even paint, because those can be structural or affect the structural integrity of the building. And that's what those experts are going to come in. They're going to take a look at in the milestone inspections. And in the reserve studies, they're also going to say, what do you need to be saving in order to keep those items in a good and safe condition?
So they'll identify up front what possibly could happen in the condos. So let's say something's identified that has to occur in 2026 or 27. Mm-hmm. The condos up front, when that date arrives, has to have that money already put aside. Is that correct?
That's correct. So these studies are going to tell you exactly right. Let's say you have to replace or repair a floor in 2027. So by the time 2027 gets there, your savings needs to amount to that reserve figure that they expect to be needed to do the work.
So we always get into the topic of partial funding or fully funded today, especially out on the islands. Many condos do partially funded. So things that wouldn't be structural, things that wouldn't be safety, they could still elect to go partial funding. Is that correct? If, let's say where I live, we wanted to put in a new swimming pool not attached to the building in 3 years. Don't have to fully fund that ahead of time. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So if this is not affecting the structure of the building, you can choose not to reserve for it. That's still the prerogatives of the owners. But if it is going to be affecting the structure, you've got to start reserving in the appropriate amounts.
And when does this all begin? So we're now about ready to close up 2022. When does this work have to start?
So the first inspections are going to be required by the end of 2024 if you qualify, and then they're going to have to be fully reserved if the work would have to be done by 2025. So that does not mean if someone comes in 2024 and says 10 years from now, you're going to need X amount of money to replace your paint, let's say. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have that by 2025. But if they say the paint is at the end of its life and it needs to be done by 2025, you do have to have that reserved. So it's not all at once necessarily.
Are they still looking at some maybe changes to the statute? Are they still working on clarifications, things like that?
They are. They've done some directives to the building commission to get back with them, as well as fire and safety. So we could be seeing some changes. We could be saying some changes or tweaking to clarify some questions. And the Department of Business and Professional Responsibility already does have some frequently asked questions posted on their website, which is alluding to maybe some open questions.
So we still have some more work to do.
Absolutely.
But one thing through this, it's going to be complex, but the thing to keep in mind, the only goal is the safety of people that live in the condos and the structures, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And that makes a whole lot of sense.
It does, it does. And one thing that I would say realtors specifically should be aware
I
of.
heard there's a bunch of them around here.
Yes, yes, and sellers and buyers. But part of the provisions require that this is added to the list of condo documents that have to be disclosed.
I like that.
To a buyer. So once you have that structural integrity reserve study, you have to provide it. And if you don't have it yet, the condo is actually supposed to make a statement that says we don't have that yet.
Perfect. I like that. So it's all about full disclosure, transparency.
Exactly, yeah.
So there'll probably be more changes. I want to come back every so often and just kind of like maybe check in, get the updates, see where we're at.
Sure.
There's a lot of concern out there, and there should be. There's probably some confusion in terms of what the statutes are and things like that. We can help clarify those. But I really appreciate you being a part of this. So as a side a little bit, now I have to wrestle with how are we going to inform Michael that I'm going to keep you here instead of Michael going forward. So that'll be the tough thing. And in fairness and transparency, Michael's sitting right around the corner. He's watching everything that we're doing. Shannon, thank you. Excellent.
Good to see you.
This is the first video we've done together. Appreciate the fact that you took the time.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great day.